All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets today on PrizePicks and Underdog for college basketball and the NBA. We're getting a pretty nice stacking opportunity in college basketball and some pretty good NBA prop bets. Now, overall, it's not going to be a high volume day, but we are getting a good enough amount of bets to be able to get proper exposure on the day. We'll begin into that, but first, a quick recap from yesterday. So yesterday was the first day in over 8 days where the bets did not go over 50% on the day. That being said, yesterday ended up being a profitable day, a little bit due to luck, but the hot stretch continued for us. So yesterday, the PrizePicks slip that I put out to you guys was a 2-slip bet. One of the players ended up being a DNP, which meant that the slip ended up being refunded, which was lucky because Bryce Williams went off yesterday. On the flip side, that we ended up having a pretty decent day underdog-wise, and I think a lot of you guys actually benefited from another lucky part of yesterday as well. I mentioned I'd be doing a 3-slip flex bet and using a boosted payout for this slip. I know some people actually end up just doing a 2-slip bet with the boosted payout and just running out these two because of the lock time for Rory. There's only like 40 minutes for people to get into this bet, and unfortunately he ended up getting to 6 birdies. He went off, guys. He had a good day. He ended up winning the tournament, but still a good day there, profitable day. Continued the nice stretch that we've been on, a little bit lucky. And again, I do want to warn you guys, like, we are going to have a bad day. Like, full disclaimer, that's going to happen. I know we've been on this hot stretch. I don't want anyone like overextending their bankroll simply because we're having a great stretch. Okay, I don't want that. Got a little bit lucky yesterday. But jumping on in today, we are getting, I think, a couple of decent spots here. I mentioned we have a game stack, and I think it's with, or really just a team stack. I think with ISU, that's the way I want to go. So we're going to notice with Keyshawn Gilbert first, we're getting 2 bets for him. Okay, one for his over fantasy score, and then one for over his rebounds and assists. And if we look at these 2 prop bets for Gilbert, I think they're fine. But again, I like the idea of stacking ISU together. So we look at his rebounds and assists. We're going to notice it's at 7.5. Definitely, a roller coaster ride. Typically a bet that I don't like to target too much, but that's also going to be the same here when we take a peek at his fantasy score as well. Now, these 2 teams have met already this season. And if we actually look at that game here, guys, we're going to notice that in that game, he actually got the over for both categories. So he got it for rebounds and assists there, gained 11, and then he barely squeaked out his over fantasy points there as well. So both of those I think I'd be fine getting to, but then we have Joshua Johnson for over his fantasy score, another pretty solid bet there for us. And then we could also pair that up with Curtis Jones. So the reason I began to Curtis Jones as well is to stack. That's the only way I'm getting there because I think that correlates pretty well here in this game specifically. PrizePicks and Underdog, they are currently not reducing payouts for bets like this that correlate. We are betting on the game being a good game between KU and ISU there. Then again, if we look at that matchup earlier, Curtis Jones did get that over. He really crushed in that game. A few too many turnovers though, so that's a little bit worrisome, but was on the plus side between blocks and steals. And then that's going to be the same here for Jefferson as well, guys, where he also had a good game in that game. Now, I wish we could be like stacking this game, but also at the same time, like KU got blown out in the last game. Maybe that doesn't end up happening in this game. Like I would want to run it back with someone from KU, but we currently aren't getting any good bets to run it back with. But again, I feel pretty comfortable kind of running out a game stack there with those guys. From there, there's not actually that much that we could go in on here for PrizePicks. Like sure, we could do McKinley for under his points here, but that starts to feel like we're forcing it. Again, we typically just want to be targeting those bets that have a 54% likelihood or better to hit. Again, though, I do want to be able to compare these fantasy score lines against Underdog as well. Like yesterday I mentioned during the video with Nate Biddle there, his line on PrizePicks was at like 27.5, a bet that I had already gotten exposure to. But then when it came out on Underdog, I just went heavy on there because that was such a clear edge for us that day. And now, guys, we're going to go ahead here and jump on into the NBA bets. Now, I do want to provide some slight caution here. Typically speaking, I've been doing this for a few years now in terms of prop betting for the NBA. We do see it be a little bit more random around the trade deadline and around All-Star Weekend. I wouldn't say we're exactly there for All-Star Weekend, but it becomes a weird spot where just minutes fluctuate a little bit, and it becomes a little bit weird. So like typically the week leading into the All-Star Weekend, again, we're not exactly there, but then the week after All-Star Weekend, I typically don't be surprised if there's more random results. But also same thing with the trade deadline. There could be a random trade that occurs that greatly shifts the likelihood for a bet to hit or not hit. Like for example, like let's just say Julius Randle, for whatever reason, gets traded from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Nas Reed over fantasy score would instantly become a great bet there at this current one. But as it sits right now, given the data points that we have, it is one that I like, and the data likes as well. We see the game log been pretty poor lately, so I like that aspect of it. The projection data does like his over there slightly, but not by too much. we look at his like VPM as well, adjusting it for his projected minutes here of 29, which might be too high. His projected minutes could be too high if we look at the recent minutes that he's been getting. That might be a little bit too high. But through and through, decent bet that we were getting there. And then saying little Koulibaly here as well. Washington, maybe they try to make some trades here, make some things happen. He's someone that maybe gets a little bit more run or a little bit more usage if a trade happens. Again, I don't expect that, but just trying to provide some caution for maybe some potential bets going forward. Again, we got 3 more days left of the trade deadline. Random stuff could happen. We obviously with the Lakers and Dallas trade, right? But looking at Koulibaly, for the most part, has been typically getting this under throughout the season, especially recently over his past 15 games, averaging the under there. With the minutes being a little bit lower as well, don't mind that. Then a bet that I do like a decent amount as well, Lauri Markkanen to get over his fantasy score as well. His projected minutes are slightly lower, like whatever, that doesn't matter. And so if we look at it across the board, a seemingly good bet. Okay, this is almost like a hammer / lock bet because all these data points right here agree with it being a good bet, especially given the matchup as well. He has been someone that has been better recently, a little bit more consistent. And so we have 3 kind of decent bets here as well. If we want to go a little bit further, we could. I don't need to get there with Dort. It's not a day where I feel like we need to force some bets because we are getting enough good bets to the point where we don't need to force any. We'll jump on into underdog real quick as well. So we are kind of getting 2 good bets here, I would say. So like Josh Green, guys, if this bet's still available on Underdog, by all means, go ahead and make it. The issue with, providing props content is you never know when or if a bet's going to be pushed. So I'm not going to be putting out a bet of the day here for Underdog, but I'm going to show you guys all the decent bets that we have here. I would say these 3 that I have highlighted here are all decent. If you guys want to get some exposure to that, you can. But again, I'm not going to include that in the bet of the day here because I just don't want to force it for you guys. And so with that, guys, we are about to get into the 9 to 5 bet of the day. Do just want to call it the 9 to 5 betting and fantasy golf picks channel here for you guys. The Waste Management Phoenix Open is going on this week. If you guys want some coverage for that, head on over to this channel. It's my secondary channel that I just post golf stuff to. So if you guys have ever been looking for that, make sure to check that out there as well. All right, so getting into the 9 to 5 bet of the day. Again, these are 4 bets that are currently popping up right now. These bets could be changing, the likelihood for them to hit, but I do like the stack and opportunity here with these ISU players. Now, if you want to go with Gilbert for over his fantasy score to just go 3 fantasy score prop bets for ISU, you can. Right now, I do like Lauri Markkanen to go over 29.5 for his fantasy score. Both him and Curtis Jones are not typically, the good bets. They're not over 54% likely to hit, but I'm okay using them in a 6-slip bet. Koulibaly for under his fantasy score, and then Naz Reid, currently the best bet on the board. Fingers crossed that it hits. Again, guys, caution, we will have a bad day here eventually. It's just due to happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen today, but I've been doing this long enough. When things are this high, there's also going to be a downside as well. That's just going to happen. But that's going to be all, guys. Make sure to leave a like, comment your guys' favorite prop bets, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so before. If you guys want access to any of the prize picks or underdog tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to those tools, all curated tools for you guys. Make your research simpler and easier, make better educated decisions. Do that by heading to 9to5sports.com. Get access to them for just $10 a month. Including that is going to be all the fantasy golf tools. Thanks for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.